Today, we're taking a really close look at precision oncology. Specifically, some huge breakthroughs in treating a rare blood cancer called Waldenström's macroglobulinemia, or WM. And our sources for this are straight from the front lines. We're looking at early-phase clinical trial data presented by the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. So our mission today is to really analyze what these new strategies mean. They're designed to tackle the biggest structural problem in WM treatment, which is, well, it's the expectation of lifelong medication.
It really is. It's a huge shift.
Yeah.
And the core insight we're chasing here is this move away from indefinite therapy, which, just piles up toxicity and resistance.
Towards what, a defined stop date?
Exactly, towards fixed duration treatments. The idea is you achieve a really deep remission, and then you stop the drugs. Let's get into how that actually works.
It sounds like a philosophical leap for the whole field, especially for a chronic cancer like WM.
It is. So, just to set the stage for you, WM is a cancer of the lymphatic system. The body starts overproducing these abnormal white blood cells, and they in turn make huge amounts of a specific protein.
And for a long time, the main approach has been these drugs called BTK inhibitors, right?
That's right, Bruton tyrosine kinase inhibitors. Yeah. And they're phenomenal drugs. I mean, they keep the disease controlled, often for years.
But the drawback is that the clock never stops ticking. If you take a drug forever, you run into two massive problems.
Two inevitable problems, yes. First, you get that slow accumulation of side effects. We call it cumulative toxicity.
And second, the cancer just figures it out. It learns how to beat the drug.
Precisely. It develops treatment resistance. So patients eventually relapse, and when they do, the disease is just so much harder to treat. The goal here is to hit the cancer so hard and so precisely in a short window of time
that the remission is deep enough to last even after the drugs are gone.
That is the holy grail, a time-limited, fixed-duration treatment.
And these findings are coming from Dana-Farber, which is, it's an NCI-designated comprehensive cancer center affiliated with Harvard. When they talk about WM, people listen.
Oh, absolutely. The oncology world pays very close attention.
Okay, so let's jump into that first strategy. This first trial, led by Dr. Jorge Castillo, focuses on an all-oral chemotherapy-free combination.
Right, and this one combines two very precise existing drugs that attack WM from different angles. First up is pirtobrutinib,
which is one of those BTK inhibitors you mentioned.
It is, but a very potent next-generation one. It interrupts a key signaling pathway that these WM cells need to survive. It basically slows them down.
Okay, so that's drug number one. What's the other part of the combo?
The second drug is venetoclax. It's what's known as a BCL2 antagonist.
Let's break that down.
So most cancer cells have this sort of protective shield called BCL2 that stops them from dying. It prevents apoptosis. Venetoclax essentially just it disables that shield.
I see. So the BTK inhibitor slows the cell down, and the BCL2 antagonist forces it into self-destruct mode.
You've got it. It creates this incredibly powerful synergistic effect. It's a 1-2 punch.
That makes a lot of sense. Instead of one hammer, it's two really precise tools at once. So who did they test this on?
They focused on symptomatic patients who'd already failed at least one other therapy. And crucially, they included patients with mutations that are, well, they're known troublemakers.
Like CXCR4 and TP53.
Exactly. Mutations that often make standard BTK inhibitors less effective. They really wanted to see if this synergy could overcome that early resistance.
What were the results? What happens when you use this pirtobrutinib and venetoclax combo for a fixed amount of time?
Well, they studied 36 patients, and the numbers are, they're really compelling. After enough follow-up, 100% of the assessable patients showed a clinical response.
Wait, 100%?
100%. Every single patient responded to the regimen.
That's one thing. But a response can mean a lot of things. The real question is the depth of that response, right? That's what lets you stop treatment.
Absolutely. And that's the second, and I'd argue more important, finding. 56% of the patients achieved a deep response.
So what does a deep response mean here?
It means they either hit a complete response, no detectable disease, or a very good partial response. It's incredibly significant. It shows that for over half the patients, the cancer was pushed back so far that the remission is likely to be durable.
Wow. So Dr. Castillo himself said the depth was beyond what was expected.
He did. The synergy is clearly working better than either drug would on its own.
Okay, these numbers are massive, especially for patients who aren't newly diagnosed. But this brings up a practical point for you, the listener. The whole benefit of time-limited therapy is avoiding long-term toxicity. What about the short term? You're using two potent drugs at once.
That's a critical question.
Yeah.
And the immediate side effects during that treatment window are real. The most common severe events, what we call grade 3 or higher, were things like neutropenia, anemia, and thrombocytopenia.
So those can be serious.
They can be.
Mm-hmm.
A grade 3 event is severe enough that it might require medical intervention, maybe even hospitalization, but you have to look at the risk-reward calculation here.
Right.
Patients are accepting, maybe a tough 6-month period of manageable side effects in exchange for the chance of stopping medication entirely for years. That's a huge psychological and physical benefit compared to managing lesser but relentless toxicities forever.
That quality of life promise is really what makes this feel so revolutionary. The idea of a stop date for your meds.
It's a game changer, but there is an asterisk here. These drugs are approved for other cancers, but using them in combination for WM is still experimental. Success in these trials is just the first step.
Then comes regulatory approval and then the cost.
Exactly. The complex realities of health economics. It's a hurdle that always follows this kind of breakthrough science.
That's a key point to keep in mind. So while that oral combo offers a path for many, the researchers also ask, what about the truly high-risk patients, the ones whose disease is actively fighting back?
That's where we get to the second trial, led by Dr. Shayna Sarosiek. This one focuses squarely on overcoming established resistance.
So WM usually has a good prognosis, but that all changes if you have certain mutations.
It changes dramatically. We're talking about the 30 to 40% of patients with the CXCR4 mutation. That one helps the cancer cells hide out in the bone marrow.
And the other one is TP53.
Even more dangerous, yes.
Yeah.
TP53 is the gene that's like the cell's emergency brake. When it's altered, which happens in about 10% of patients at first, but that number goes way up after treatment, the cells lose their ability to self-destruct. They become highly resistant. These are the toughest cases.
So for that kind of deep established resistance, they brought in a new weapon, loncastuximab tesirine. We really need to explain what this is.
We do. Loncastuximab tesirine is an antibody-drug conjugate, or ADC.
A guided missile, basically.
A guided missile is a great way to think about it. Or smart chemotherapy. You link a really toxic chemo payload, the warhead, to a specific antibody, the guidance system.
And that antibody only targets the cancer cells.
Exactly. The antibody seeks out a protein found only on the surface of the WM cells. It docks on, and then it releases that potent chemo directly inside the cancer cell, sparing the healthy tissue around it as much as possible.
It's a mechanism that seems perfectly designed to overcome resistance. It delivers the payload right past the cell's defenses. So how did it do in this heavily pretreated group?
Well, these patients were the definition of relapsed and refractory. They'd had a median of 4 prior therapies. They were given 6 cycles of this ADC by itself over 6 months.
And the results?
They're truly striking for this population. 71% of the patients who completed the study achieved a deep response.
71% with a complete or very good partial response.
Yes. Now just stop and think about that for a second. This is a group of patients whose cancer had already beaten multiple standard treatments. And yet a 6-month course of this one targeted therapy drove nearly 3/4 of them into a deep remission.
That's incredible. But let's connect it back to the most critical resistance factor you mentioned, TP53. Did the guided missile system overcome that broken emergency brake?
It did, spectacularly. And this is the part of the data that really stands out. The sources highlight that all of the patients with the TP53 alteration responded to the treatment.
Every single one.
Every single one. And even more compelling, 89% of those specific high-risk patients achieved a complete or very good partial response.
That is a fundamental breakthrough. I think Dr. Sarosiek said the rates were higher than expected, but also deeper and better than expected.
She did. This trial didn't just manage the disease in this high-risk population. It seems to have really conquered the very mechanisms of resistance that used to guarantee a poor outcome.
So if we connect both of these studies, what's the big picture here?
The big picture is a unified scientific goal, ending the era of continuous BTK inhibitor therapy. Whether it's the oral combination for symptomatic patients or the ADC for the high-risk ones, the strategy is shifting completely.
Away from continuous control and toward a deep, fixed-duration remission.
Precisely.
And for you, the listener, whether you're a patient, a caregiver, or just tracking medical progress, this offers so much hope. It means the next generation of treatment might not just control the disease, but actually allow for long periods totally free of medication.
But there is that one important question that tempers the excitement a little.
The durability.
The durability. The sources are careful to note that additional follow-up is needed. We know these protocols work great during the 6 months. The next huge step is to see how long those remissions last once the patient is completely off the drugs.
Absolutely. Durability is the final piece of the puzzle. But what we've seen today is a clear and effective roadmap for getting there. So as a final summary of our deep dive, these Dana-Farber studies have revealed two incredibly successful, time-limited, targeted therapies for WM. You have the pirtobrutinib venetoclax oral combo with its 100% response rate.
And then you have the antibody-drug conjugate, loncastuximab tesirine, showing just profound, unparalleled success against the absolute highest risk mutations, especially TP53.
An amazing set of findings.
It really is. And here's a final provocative thought for you to consider. The success of loncastuximab tesirine, this smart chemotherapy, in neutralizing these high-risk factors like TP53, suggests a powerful general principle for oncology.
Go on.
Well, this concept, using an antibody to deliver a cytotoxic payload directly into the most aggressive cancer cells, it's been powerfully validated here. So what does this mean to the future?
You mean beyond WM?
Far beyond. If ADCs can be tailored and applied to other rare, highly resistant blood cancers that are currently stuck on that continuous medication treadmill, we could see this paradigm shift extend much further. We might be witnessing the beginning of the end of continuous therapy for many hematologic malignancies. Something to think about as you watch where this technology goes next.